Applicant trashing systems are not designed to get you hired. They are designed so organizations can filter volume and reduce risk. If they are a primary approach to your job searching strategy, you are deliberately volunteering to enter the arena at the worst possible fight. It is the worst possible place for you to be. So you're making it hard on yourself. And today I'm going to prove to you why that is. I've got 10 elements related to this that I want you to truly understand, coming from somebody that's been on the other side of the table. But before I prove it to you, let's just make sure that everybody understands what an applicant trashing system is. There are many of them out there. There are many software makers that help organizations house resumes. That's basically what they do. So anytime you go to a corporation's website and it says careers and you're going to go apply online for one of their jobs, you're putting your resume into the applicant trashing system. When you go on LinkedIn and you do easy apply, same thing. When you go on Indeed or Career Builder or Hot Jobs or Monster, all of that is either an ATS or something similar. So why are they so evil? And why are you not hearing back when you apply online? So there's a couple things that I want to share right away, just so you know where I'm getting my insight from. And let's maybe start with the data. I have been an executive recruiter, a career coach, and a corporate leader. I started my career as a corporate practitioner. I spent about 18 years. I had hired thousands of people across the organizations that I had worked for. Then I became an executive recruiter for about a little over 15 years straight, even a little bit longer. We did high velocity recruiting. I personally and the milewalk company had recruited for more than 200 organizations. So we saw a lot of different organizations. We saw a lot of different sizes of organizations, and we saw a lot of position types being hired. And as a career coach, I've helped many, many tens of thousands of individuals through their searches. So seeing hiring at that capacity helps you understand how hiring actually works. And one thing that I want you to know is that when you are entering into the world of system-based hiring, you're at a huge disadvantage. So let me give you some of the data from that background of mine. Those multiple hundreds of companies that we recruited for, I would literally ask them, as I would take their searches initially, and then as our relationship evolved, where do you find your people? How do you prioritize them? How do you find them? Where do you look? And they all said this. Many of them said the same thing. Well, we love employee referrals because the networking is great and people vouch for them. We love that. We hire executive search firms like yourself. So certain select positions, we want to make sure that we are really reaching out and widening our net. We also have recruiters who reach out to people. And then we have our ATS. And I would ask them, do you farm the ATS? My terminology for, do you actually look through and look for qualified people to see if anybody fits the bill? They said, well, we don't really use that. We'll post some of the positions online. We don't post everything. We actually post a small fraction of what we recruit for. And so I started gathering statistics from all of the organizations that I worked with on a hand-to-hand basis. And what I came to understand was, and based on all the notes I took, based on all the data I collected, half of them were not even reviewing their applicant trashing system. So they were relying on the other mediums in order to find people. We also, as part of milewalk, would send out a survey, not just to those organizations, but to many people that we had met through our networks, people that were on our email, quarterly newsletter list, individuals that I tried to recruit that were job candidates, that were hirers, all the hiring officials that I met, all the HR people that I met, the recruiters that I met, and we would send a survey out year after year. We would collect data about their hiring practices. Additionally, I would talk to job candidates that I was recruiting, and I would also capture data from them. And as it turned out, I would always ask them on the survey, How are you hiring your people? What percentage of the people did you hire on your own? What percentage of them were employee referrals? What percentage of them came from publicized openings? What percentage came from inbound applications, right? The job candidates that were applying through the ATS online. And one of the things that I was able to do was triangulate that the smallest of percentages of people were actually hired through the ATS. And I would ask a variety of questions, and without going into all the survey questioning, I was able to draw the conclusion that basically about 3% of all applicants were even seen by the organizations. So depending on the level in the organization, the lower levels had a higher percentage of being seen, but based on position type and rank, the higher the level you were, the lower the likelihood that you were even seen. Now I want you to look at that number. 3% seen. That doesn't mean that they offered you an interview or that you even took a job. It's just these are the number of people that we reviewed and actually either extended an interview to or at least reviewed. I would ask what percentage would you estimate was qualified for the position types. We had a whole host of questions that we would ask them. But I want you to let this sink in for a second. Just think about what that says. Not rejected, not reviewed, but just invisible. Just invisible. So you're putting your resume into this applicant trashing system and you're wondering why, because you are absolutely perfect for the job, that you are not even getting an interview or you're getting an immediate rejection. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to walk you through why this is the case. But I want you to understand that these applicant trashing systems, they're electronic filing cabinets. That's all they are. They farm resumes in there, but they don't actually curate them, evaluate them, at least not to the extent that you think so. And for many of them, they're just checking a box to say we're compliant, or if we ever got audited, we don't discriminate or any of that nonsense related to those HIPAA laws. So I need this to sink in, but it's really even worse. It's even worse than the data. All right. Second point I want to make is they're incredibly crowded. And you probably know this. You might even be able to see the statistics of the number of applicants that go into those systems. But high performers, and I would like to say that anybody who's here with me right now, I don't know how many of you that are here, the well over 100 of you that are here, are high performers. You wouldn't be here if you were not. High performers, they don't win in the crowds. They win by having direct conversations. They don't want to play in that bucket because you are not competing against just high performers. You are not competing against just the best candidates. You are literally competing against everyone. All of the unqualified people. And employers right now are getting flooded with a lot of unqualified people. It's their own doing. The LinkedIn Easy Apply makes it super easy for anybody to apply to anything. It takes you almost no seconds to hit a button, right? Okay, well, that efficient mode is creating lots of problems. Tough job markets create lots of problems. So I want you to realize that you are really, really in a tough spot, and these are very overcrowded. And what also happens, one of the reasons that when I told you that less than half of the people that we recruited for actually farmed their applicant trashing system, one of the reasons that they would cite often is it's overcrowded and it's just filled with a lot of people who are not even remotely qualified for our role. So I want you to think about that. Here's another thing for you to know. The ATS rejects you by accident. It's nothing but ones and zeros. That's all it is. It cannot interpret you. In fact, not only does it not interpret you, but it literally flattens you. It literally flattens you to dates and titles. And you know what I say about flat people? They can't stand out. There is absolutely no way. I want you to think about all of what is happening. There is absolutely nothing but machine reading some keywords or letters or formats or incorrect formats with absolutely zero judgment. How much of a disadvantage is it putting at you? Aren't you so much more than your resume? I know I'm so much more than the first 60 seconds of my YouTube videos, right? But the machine is reading that. The machine is directing it. So I want you to know that this is really important for you to understand, that this puts you at a supreme disadvantage. And the higher up you go, the worse the disadvantage, because there are so many more capabilities, skill sets, and traits that I need in leadership personnel, in the way in which you communicate, in the way in which you manage, in the way in which you lead, in the way in which you inspire. None of that can come through when you're applying online. And that leads me to my next one, which is really kind of an extension. Keywords on a resume does not equal capability. So someone who's better at optimizing for keywords is going to have an advantage over somebody who's got better leadership qualities, communication qualities, inspiration qualities, mentoring skills, right? Influential skills. So I want you to think about this. An analogy I could give you is I don't spend a lot of time, as you could see, on my YouTube videos. I spend a lot of time on YouTube because it's a vehicle that I use to communicate with you. But I don't spend any time editing the videos. There's no cut. I'm a one-take kind of guy. There's not a lot of editing. There's no graphics. I use note cards. In 3 months from now, I'm probably going to clip this portion of this video and release it as a recorded video for my Tuesday release. Does that mean I'm any less great than somebody who's terrible at the content they deliver you, but have a great 60-second hook that tells YouTube that a lot of people are clicking, or the thumbnail's really pretty? Mine are not, obviously. My videos tend to be longer than most because I'm more interested in the person who's interested in learning, who wants the value, who wants to understand the why and the data and the here's how and all the mistakes they're going to make. I can't put that in a video in 4 minutes, not really. I mean, I have some 4-minute videos, but you get the idea. Is somebody who's better at optimizing their resume more qualified than you are? The machine makes mistakes. Again, it reduces you to dates and titles and keywords. What happens if you pick the wrong keywords? What happens if you use account executive when it's looking for business development manager, even though it's the same thing? So just keep this in mind. It cannot understand at all you and everything that goes along with it. I want you to think about all the problems you solved, all the other stuff that goes on with you. Okay, here's another one. By the time it hits the ATS, the job posting, it's already been spoken about before it was posted. There's already a front runner, likely, or employee referrals are going to be given an advantage, or they might go with an internal candidate. Who knows? But by the time it gets to you, if you're waiting for postings, you're already late. And the other thing that I would say is, when I talk about those surveys that I ran, most of those organizations, the average, when I looked at all the data, only 20% of actual hires were officially posted on their websites. That means there's 80% of their hires are occurring without any visibility to the world. There's no law that says I have to post an opening at my company. Zero. There's zero laws. Yes, there are some regulations for some types of entities that they need to do it, or they've imposed their own because they think that the employees will favor them because they're doing that and giving them a fair shot. But the fact of the matter is, you're already behind by the time you see the posting. And many of you ask me questions like, well, should I hurry up and apply before the job closes? Well, first thing is you never should apply. Second thing is you probably should have been messaging that company if it was of interest before you ever even saw a posting, because by the time the posting came up, you're already late. By the time they're closing the job, you're way late. So just think about that. All right. Let's see. What do we got here? Oh yeah, this one. Applying feels productive, but it's actually zero progress. I beat this one up a lot, kind of week in and week out. But when you're doing a lot of this, let's say the first 5 messages that I gave you today, you're not really giving yourself a chance. What you're doing is you're spending a lot of time in very low probability job search activities. And so what's happening is you're spending a lot of time, but it's like me going to the dime store every day and buying a lottery ticket. I'm making the trip, I'm spending my money, and I'm hoping every day to get, and you know what? If that sucker hits, I'm going to be rich. But guess what? What's the probability that that's going to hit? And so if I'm spending all my time doing that, I'm not spending my time actually in high value activities, which we'll talk about here toward the end. Okay, so you are not productive because you are applying. And when I see all those LinkedIn sob story messages about people who've applied to 1,500 jobs, I just shake my head because that is not working hard. That's working a lot and working inefficiently. Now, doesn't make them a bad person. They just don't know. But I'm telling you, because you're here listening to me, don't do that. Don't do the LinkedIn message and don't do the apply. Okay, next thing. Okay. You're letting go of all control. So the minute you push the submit button, apply, boom, you have literally turned control of your career over to software, hoping that it smiles on you. It's true. Because why? You can't explain yourself. You can't position yourself. There's no indication of what was going on or who you are or what you're about or how talented you are or what you're willing to do. Any of that is gone. You have submitted, literally surrendered. And so what you want to try to do is you want to try to make sure that you are maintaining control. And the other things that it strips away from you is your story. So it's not just your skill sets and what you've done and the impact you've made, but why were you chosen for that project? What problems did you help the company overcome to achieve their goals? What kind of operating environment was it? How many people were you truly managing? Maybe you were managing a 50-person matrix organization. Maybe you were the conductor, the maestro. None of that comes through. It absolutely doesn't, because you need to be able to position yourself with more words and explanation to do that. Much of that can happen in a cover letter. It can happen somewhat if somebody sees your resume, but much of the time you're not being seen. So a lot of that's getting stripped away. So what you're trying to do is get directly to the hiring officials or the decision makers so you can actually position your story. How did you grow? What was going on? All of this is removed by the machine. It can't feel any of this. But somebody reading a message from you has a much better chance of feeling it. So you're not only letting control of what's happening go to a machine, but you're surrendering everything about yourself, and you're missing your ability to actually share it. So that's number 8. Remember, it flattened you, the dates and titles. All right, number 9. Here's another statistic from my data gathering as an executive recruiter. Even inbound, if properly positioned on LinkedIn, if your positioning on LinkedIn is proper, you are likely to get more inbound calls than you are even being seen by an ATS at a ratio of 3-1. So what do I mean? So when we gathered statistics from all the candidates that we'd interview as part of milewalk, I would ask every single one of them, for your last 2 or 3 jobs, how did you get those jobs? I didn't care about why you chose those jobs. You give me some rationale that is plausible. I don't need to waste my time with that. How did you actually move from A to B and B to C? I wanted to know what the medium was. Of the 12,000, 1,000, a little over 1,000, had said, I was minding my own business and somebody contacted me on LinkedIn. Somebody contacted me on LinkedIn. A CEO of a small organization reached out to me. I wasn't job searching, but I talked to him and he hired me. I got a corporate recruiter who emailed me and asked me if I was open to talk. I had an executive recruiter who contacted me and asked me if I was interested in a position they were searching for. That's what I mean. 8%? 8%. 8%. You got hired that way. 3% chance of being seen. 8% chance if you're minding your own business and have a good LinkedIn presence. I'm going to guess that today, now I haven't run that survey in a handful of years, but I'm guessing today that statistic is probably similar. I did a coaching session with a woman last night, maybe it was the night before, and she said, I'm getting contacted 3 and 4 times a day by people on LinkedIn who want to know if I'm open to talking with them, executive recruiters, corporate recruiters. And she was trying to ask me, what were my tips for how do I shut all that down? I want to have a light LinkedIn touch. I was like, no. We need to go the other way. So just let that sink in. Let that sink in. All right, number 10. I saved my favorite for last. So for those of you that are around Andy Shop a lot, you know what I say. Companies don't hire people. Systems really don't hire people. People hire people. So if you can't get to the humans, the person who actually could make a thoughtful analysis of you, your potential contributions and impact, you're really going to be in tough shape. This, to me, is the key way to go. And by putting your resume into the applicant trashing system, you are not giving yourself a chance to be in touch with those humans. So now you might be wondering, okay, well, all right, I believe you. It took you 20 minutes to tell me something I already know. I know, but I really need you to know it because I really need you to stop applying online for jobs. And yes, there are some of you, statistically, there are some of you. Of the 124 of you that are here, right, 2% of you are going to get your jobs through the applicant trashing system. 2%. So that's less than 10, right? So a lot of you are spending a lot of time putting it in, but I really want to impress upon you. Okay, so how do we overcome this? Well, I have been running it nearly 10 years, and I call it my Job Search Challenge. It is designed to help you work on the high-value activities that keep you in motion, to be consistent with daily human outreach, and you're targeting organizations, so you are controlling your output. There is no resistance. There's no inertia. You can send as many of these messages as you want, but I like a continuous and steady and disciplined approach because I'm always looking to take one step at a time, gather data, take one step at a time, gather more data, make adjustments, and so on. So what I want you to do is my 3x3x3. It's 3 companies a day that you would target. It's 1 person at each of those organizations or in the direction of each of those organizations. And I want you to send 1 message to each of them every single day, meaning 3 companies A, B, and C on Monday, people A, B, and C at organizations A, B, and C. You're going to send each one of them a message. On Tuesday, companies D, E, and F, and so on and so forth. And you're going to stay consistent, 15 outreaches a week. I would spend the rest of my job searching time doing nothing but looking for companies and people within those companies and messages I could send directly to them. I give away free templates, which you could grab on my YouTube channel. There are boss hunting messages and free cover letters that you can send to recruiters. There's those boss hunting messages you can send to potential hiring officials. That you're not at a loss for that. That's the easy part. It's getting organized and getting disciplined. It has never been easier ever in the history of my life to find organizations with the onset of these AI tools. You can feed it what you want. You can tell it, I like these organizations, give me other ones like that, and so on. Now, that's all I want to say on this because I have some free videos on my YouTube channel that you can go and check out. But for those of you that are here and watching with me live, I do have a free once a year job search challenge full event, and I'm going to be running that event February 16th through the 23rd. I know that's 7 days, 5 days, 16th through the 20th, and Monday, February 23rd as well. I'm going to take you through everything, how to identify the organizations, what the blueprint is, how to identify the organizations, how to identify the people, what to say to those people. And then on Friday, so this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. On Friday, we're going to work together and we're actually going to build your plan. It is brand new teaching for me. It has got everything of my latest and greatest techniques. It's got AI integrated into everything that we're going to be doing every single day. So you will understand how to use and operate tools that you now have at your disposal. It's going to be great. February 16th through 20th. If you're here with me live or if you're watching this on a recording before middle of February, there is a pin or a link in the description or a pin in the chat. I would highly recommend joining. Now, if you are here with me live, we're going to go to the Q&A. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week. For everybody listening, lots of luck on your search. Stay out of the applicant trashing systems. I hope I have impressed upon you why I don't want you in there. Low likelihood to success. Let's start getting that consistent human outreach to get you having those conversations with the right people.